hope I don't do that. Okay, Lord. Hey, Lord. Can you lower the volume a bit for me? What?
What's this?
Good? Alright. Hi, I'm CanadianOwl.
And I'm Azure. I'll be commentating the run since Owl doesn't talk.
Yeah. I don't speak too much. So, this is GT Classic. Time starts when I press start game.
Alright.
3, 2,
2, 1, go. Alright, so this is a bit of an interesting category. GT Classic refers to the Golden Chorizo debug code, which, if you get to Golden Chorizo's room, is one of the mini-bosses in Lower Norfair, normally very late in the game. If you go into his room and you hold down A, B, X, and Y, that activates a debug code that gives you every major item in the game except Screw Attack, and it gives you a set amount of energy and missiles. So, doing that code speeds up the run a lot because you just get every item for free, basically. But it is a separate category for everything because it's classified as a cheat code, and it takes a lot away from what the normal categories would do. So it's best done as a separate category. But this category does show off a lot more of the movement tech that you can do when you have every single item. So it's interesting in its own right. So the category doesn't use any major glitches except GT code, which is not really a glitch. It was left in the game by It was put in the game purposely by the developers to be able to test the Golden Chorizo fight, but they kind of just left it in, never took it out.
And it was a secret for 16 years?
Yeah, 16 years. So it was actually discovered in 2010 by a ROM hacker named Jam. Jam's a pretty crazy. He knows a lot about the disassembly and stuff of Super Metroid, and he hasn't made any like full game hacks, but he mostly works on custom code for that gets used in other people's hacks. Probably the thing he's best known for is he made the patch for Hyper Metroid that lets you cope Spazer and Plasma at the same time. That was a lot of work to do. Because you have to create a whole separate array of beam graphics and damage tables and stuff for that to work. But yeah, so this is a pretty standard beginning. Owl's gonna moonfall down the shaft, which saves about 4 seconds. Moonfall is a technique that was found a couple years ago. There's a moonwalk feature in the game where if you turn it on in the options, it lets you walk backwards slowly while you're holding a shot. And it's mostly seen as a joke, but in 2017, SNEC found out that you could uncap your falling speed if you moonwalk into a jump off a cliff. So that saves frames in some areas, but the biggest time save by far is the climb that he just went down. So he's gonna get Morphin missiles, and he's gonna get the early super missiles in Brinstar, the mock ball to skip spore spawn. So this is a pretty standard opening. Pretty much every run that doesn't use major glitches has to follow this same opening.
Well, unless you're Zenny. And do RBO.
That's a good point. Sometimes you get an extra E-tank that may or may not be hard to get, depending on how you get it. The category is called GT Classic because there are a bunch of different categories that you could do with GT code. So it was found out that you could actually glitch into Turian using a particular glitch beam combination known as space-time. And then later it was discovered that you could use space-time beam to just set the flag to end the game, basically. That particular combination is Charge, Ice, Spazer, and Plasma, and you're not supposed to equip Spazer and Plasma at the same time, obviously. So once that was found, GT code became the fastest way to get those beams. So we have basically two categories split for GT code runs. There's GT Classic and there's GT Spacetime. Classic is where you don't use any other major glitches, you just go fight the 4 bosses with the extra items that you get.
Shows to read for this BT setup.
Oh yeah, so that was a really quick fight.
Yeah, Reeve found that recently, and
is it the setup that just makes him jump back from that position without you having to move?
yeah.
Yeah, so you wanna keep that fight to multiples of 100 damage, because if he goes below 100, then he has an extra animation where he blows off his head. But without that, you get to skip that animation if he's at exactly 100. So he's just waiting for a missile drop here, because he needs at least you need at least 1 missile once you're past this point to make sure you can get 2 drops off of Zila's. You make sure you're at full health here so that you can get guaranteed missile drops here. Otherwise, the missile drops are, if you're not at full health, the missile drops here are a 60% chance, and you have to get 2 of them. So.
And I conserve health in the first place because going up to get early power bombs is takes a lot of health, and having that extra 60 health is very useful.
Yeah, so after he gets the early supers here from this mock wall, this is a really common thing that you see in Super Metroid speedruns, but after he gets these, he's gonna go fight Kraid first because you need the Variasuit to be able to survive the trip to Golden Chorizo. But you also need power bombs to get into Lower Norfair because you have to open the yellow door. So what he's gonna do before heading down Red Tower to go fight Kraid is he's gonna climb up Red Tower first to get some early power bombs. And this is the route that like any percent new route Fantoon first would do. But he's just going to get the power bombs and he's going to go straight back down. He's also going to skip these missiles and skip charge beam, which normally in just about every speedrun you're going to need those things, but the Gold Chorizo code will give us charge beam, along with pretty much every other major item. So we don't have to get it here, since we're just going to have it later anyways, and we don't need it up until then.
Yeah, it makes resources before that very tricky to manage.
Yeah, so like, I think one safety that some runners like to grab is they like to grab that missile pack too, because 10 helps, but you don't need 10. It's not faster to do that. It's faster to just go the minimum 5 for ammo. So this red tower climb is tricky. You're supposed to have high jump and ice for it, but he gets up it pretty nicely. There's a hero shot strat that lets you shoot that block out and climb up at the same time, but it's really tricky to pull off. You have to wall jump up really fast to keep up with your shot,
especially without charge.
Oh, yeah, that's true, I guess. Well, charge doesn't change the speed of the beam, but it makes it wider, so it's easier to hit the shot. I thought charge beam actually made the shot slower, so you could keep up with it, but I was wrong about that. I had to be corrected on that. So we've got power bombs, and he's only at 92 energy from the damage boosts that he took in Hellway, this room called Hellway.
Heck.
Sorry. Well, so I was told not to say heck because it's not polite. So now we've got power bombs, and we're just gonna go down and fight Kraid, like you would see in any percent older era. That's a pretty good amount of health, honestly. Also, he's got power bombs equipped. I think he's gonna break the tube here.
Yeah. Hopefully I don't get soft locked.
Yeah. So he lays a power bomb, and the top left of that glass tube is actually the trigger for it breaking. When the power bomb hits the top left of the glass tube, the next input that you do after that, the next new input that you do after that causes the tube to break. So since you're running, it won't just break if you continue to run. You'd have to stop and press the direction again. Or what you could do what he did, which is shoot your beam. So what most people do is shoot their beam to get that next input to break the tube. And since he's going to have gravity in every other item when he comes back, it just makes sense to break it now. So now we've got the Kraid fight coming up. This is another staple Super Metroid trick. So when you get that power bomb actually can kill some off-screen of Kraid's fingernails and reduce lag here. It also positions him really nicely for this quick kill. So if you get him, oh, that wasn't quite the right setup. But if you get his mouth frozen like that, which is basically hit the center frame of his animation, if you get him to phase 2, when he's in that animation pose, then that stun locks his mouth open, so you can just get all the supers in to kill him. So having power bombs here is actually kind of nice because you can just power bomb all those guys instead of having to use missiles on them, and you don't have very many missiles in this route. That power bomb also saves like a tiny bit of time.
I'm gonna get this tank.
Breaking that bomb block.
I usually do this run with 2 E-Tanks, sometimes with 1 if I'm behind, but I don't want to die.
Yeah, so in Norfair, to get into Lower Norfair, he's going to have to do what's called a lava dive. The room that guards the entryway is called Gravitron, and it's full of lava, and you're supposed to have gravity suit and space jump to get up it, but with our current equipment, we can do what's called a lava dive. So when you're in lava, your wall jumps are a lot more floaty. You get a lot more height out of them, even though your general movement is slower. Now, the lava dive can be done without high jump. It's very, very difficult. So for safety, and I think in PB attempts, do you still get high jump?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think most people that that run this category still get high jump, but it's it saves some time to skip it, but the technique for skipping it is a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
And he has 3 E tanks here, which is pretty safe. So with high jump, with high jump, you can do the lava dive strat that he's going to do with only 1 E tank.
Yeah.
And without it, you need at least 2.
Well, you could do the lava dive with 0 E tanks, but
You can,
that's stupid hard.
yeah, you can do it with high jump with 0, but it requires a different strategy that's much tighter and much riskier, much harder to pull off.
Thanks, Zenny.
It's actually useful for another GT code category, max percent GT, which gets to GT with as few minor items as possible, so that as many items as possible are left in the game to pick up after GT code to let you maximize the percentage counter. That category is pretty interesting.
I made backup saves, so I'm not gonna save here. For both lava dive and remake glitch.
Yeah, so he's gonna go into this room to farm for super missiles, because after we do this lava dive, we're going to have to do a green gate glitch, and that's shooting a green gate from the right side when the button's on the left. And that's a 1 to 2 frame trick, depending on your setup. It's possible to be reasonably consistent at it, but making sure you can get it for sure within 5 is kind of difficult. So
I'm just gonna roll in.
yeah. So he's gonna jump off of these non-behave faces. He's gonna probably have to do an extra wall jump here to wait out that flame. There he goes.
Yes. Didn't even need the 2 E tanks.
Okay, so now this green gate glitch is gonna come up in like 2 or 3 rooms from here.
Yeah.
So he's basically just gonna run up to the gate and jump and shoot it and try and sneak the super missile to the other side.
Also known as a hacks.
So this is the backdoor way to Golden Chorizo. Well, we can't go the front way because oh, here's the gate glitch. Got it. Okay, so this is the backdoor in. We can't go the front way because there's a golden statue that drains the acid, and it requires space jump to activate. So this door transition, he's going to hold A, B, X, and Y to activate the GT code. And if he did this right, he's going to have 7 energy tanks, and he's going to have all the major items except screw attack. And he just he almost equipped space-time beam as a joke.
That was intentional.
This fight is really easy with full beam combo. Alright, so now the goal from here is to just oh, you want that.
I was trying to get it in the spin jump.
The goal from here is just to beat the game under no major glitches conditions from here.
Boss rush.
Are we gonna get the short trick here? Okay.
think I had just enough room to not need to.
This Shine Spark is faster even if you have Screw Attack and Space Jump. It's still faster by a little bit.
Yeah, because of lag.
But yeah, so GT code doesn't actually give you Screw Attack. So you have to make sure you pick up Screw Attack after doing it and not before, because otherwise it will delete it. Because the code doesn't add to your inventory, it literally sets a predetermined inventory for you. So the Screw Attack makes it makes these sections a lot easier to survive. Are you gonna go for Powerhouse?
Maybe.
Okay. What about Ninja Pirate Double Kill?
Not the double kill, but
Okay. Well, I think Full Beam Combo is nice for these Ninja Pirates because you can double hit them with the Plasma Beam if you fire the beam in the direction that they're running. All right, so this trick.
I missed it.
Okay, yeah, he missed it. You can shoot the door out and have enough front speed to, if you manage to jump out from between those platforms, you can shoot the door and just space jump through this entire room really quickly. That's called the Powerhouse. Okay, and the Ridley fight. This is only 20 shots with your full beam combo. So more or less the fastest Ridley fight that you're gonna be able to get. In Pogoing on the left, you have a safe spot there. There's a lot that goes into this fight and like reading his patterns and stuff, but honestly, like a lot of it doesn't really come into play when you have full beam combo.
That was a nice fight. Nearly got the quick grab off the Pogo, but it's still good.
So one weird thing about GT code is it sets your max energy value. It doesn't like set a specific number of E-tanks, but it sets your max energy value, and it sets it to exactly 700. So he has a max of 700 energy, not 799.
Oh. I was going for the Hundo strat.
Oh, nice wasteland clip. That's really hard. That is the absolute fastest way to set up the speedball from Wasteland, which you kind of missed.
Yeah.
I haven't explained short charges at all, but honestly, they're really hard to explain.
Tap run at the right time. The senses run animation 4 times. You get blue.
Yeah, you only have to hold run at specific frames of same as animation. So, if you manage to hold run on those specific frames and do it as little as possible, otherwise you get a much shorter charge for your speed booster. And the way that he was trying to do the Wasteland Speedball with the statue clip, it's the fastest setup, but it's also by far the most difficult. Specifically, it makes the short charge. It makes doing the short charge really hard.
Yeah. You need a free tap.
You need a
pure free tap, otherwise your iframes run out.
You need a pure 2-tap, I think.
Free tap.
3-tap works?
Yes.
I thought 3-tap made you get hit by the...
No, stutter free made you hit.
But that method just has very little space to work with to do it. And if you don't do it right, you get hit by the disc ego that's on top of you. So we're done in Norfair, and we're just going to
Go swimming.
Yep. So with the tube already broken, it just lets you do this room faster than having to wait for it to break here. Now this is all the, this is Meridia, this is all the underwater section of the game. And Space Jump. So Space Jump lets you jump as many times in the air as you want, but it has a pretty strict timing window when you do it in normal air. But in water, the window for it is increased by a lot for some reason. For some reason, it has a separate set of physics in water. So you can basically just spam it, and it'll work. And you can ascend really quickly with it. You have a lot more control over what you're doing with it. Oh, I forgot to explain this. So he's going to use a trick called X-Plasma, or more commonly known in the randomizer community as microwave beam. So he actually has X-ray, the X-ray scope, and grapple beam, even though they don't show on the HUD. They don't show up because... Are we gonna get full halfy?
Probably not.
This trick's hard. So, and he started off with space jumps too. Nice save with the grapple beam though. Yeah, it's if grapple beam wasn't like 4 select presses in, I feel like it'd be more useful for like saving yourself on missing jumps like that. But yeah, so plasma beam, in addition to doing a ton of damage, it has piercing properties on most enemies, which means that hitting an enemy with it won't stop the beam; it'll just keep going. So normally you can just hit multiple enemies in a row with it, but what you can abuse with the piercing property is if you use X-ray scope. X-ray basically pauses the rest of the game while it's waiting for you to search around with it. And if you do that, you can allow an enemy's invulnerability frames to run out while the plasma beam's in it, and you can just keep hitting X-ray and hitting it with the same plasma shot over and over. So we just did that to Dragon as well. So we get super fast bosses in this category. And we can actually still do it to Fantoon. He's the one remaining boss that we have to kill. It's a little bit trickier, because you have to make sure he's completely solid. Oh, nice Wample jump. His jump's kind of tricky to do, so he gets back across this room. Oh, that was another moonfall. The Wample jump that he did in Colosseum was you have to do your space jumps at pretty specific heights so that you will actually clear that first large pillar that's in your way and be able to get through the entire room with your initial run speed with that space jump. If you don't manage to get over that first pillar cleanly, then you have to start doing your space jump again from up there, and you have less distance to run, so you have less distance to be able to build up better run speed. So. Nice gate shot. You can kind of almost buffer timing that out of the doorway to hit that diagonal shot.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm glad you remembered to go to Fantine, actually, because I forgot.
Who do you think I am, Sloters?
I've been doing a lot lately, too. I did it in a boss rando recently. So this is the wreck ship. It's a really small area. It's normally where you would get the gravity suit. So in any percent new route, you would go straight up here. Do some tricky tricks to get here and do this boss fight on really low health. But here we got just about everything, so this is gonna be really quick. So he has to... Oh, nice fast pattern. Nice.
Toasted Ghost.
So that was the fastest pattern he could have done. Which saves about 10 seconds over the slowest pattern he could have done. The slowest pattern is the most common, unfortunately. So this category is nice because you could just kill Fantine and just leave the ship without doing anything.
Oh well.
So he's basically just going to Turian now, and when he gets to the golden statue room, blocking it, it'll be about 50 seconds of just waiting for that cutscene to be over.
I love that spring ball.
So I will say you've got lots of energy, you've got lots of ammo, and you have ice and plasma and high jump, speed booster, space jump. This is the best item set to show off your Turian skills.
Wasn't a whole lot for me.
I would say nice HPJ, but you have Spring Ball, which makes it free. Like, Spring Ball has an entirely different set of physics for the Morph Ball. It's really weird. Oh, turning off Screw Attack already. Okay.
Oh my god, baby skip. Good start.
So there's just 4 Metroid rooms here. They're really hard to clear optimally, actually. But the reason you turned off Varia and Screw Tech, the Rainbow Beam that Mother Brain hits you with at the end of the second phase. it only checks for Varia Soup for some reason. So if you have Varia off, it'll do double damage. And that double damage, some players find it easier to set up stand-up glitch with, which I'm not sure if we're going for here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to safety safe.
It's kind of risky in this category to do stand-up, but right here we're going to go for baby skip. We're going to play jump rope with the baby Metroid to try and get through the door without getting grabbed. And this is pretty tricky to do, so... Oh, very nice.
There.
Yeah, that was about like the minimum reasonable amount of jumps, I would say, that you should do for it.
Yeah.
But if you had missed it, the Metroid draining your health also only checks for Varia, so that would have sped it up. Now, the reason you turn off screw attack is for this Zepatite skip, there are a few ways to get through these. But the most standard way, freezing it and doing a spin jump onto the frozen Rinka to clip through, that relies on you having invulnerability frames, and screw attack will reset your invulnerability frames every time you do a spin jump, so it makes that method not quite work. There's a few alternate ways of doing it, but they're a lot trickier.
I know, original.
Okay, so this is Mother Brain Phase 2. Phase 1 was breaking the glass tank. And this is just 20 shots. She's got the exact same amount of health as Ridley does. Once you get her HP to 0, or once you get it to under a quarter, she starts doing this red beam that we call catch-up, which does 100 damage and can multi-hit due to overlapping hitboxes. So right now what he's going to do is he's going to use his reserves to get his HP to 700. 700 is the minimum that you need to have for stand-up glitch. And nice super shot at the same time as getting rainbow.
Prevents the screen from shaking.
Does it?
Yes. It does the same thing in Craig's room, but it has weirder consequences.
Okay, so you'll notice that he still has control of Samus when he's not supposed to. So if you take a hit when you have 700, if you get the first rainbow when you have over 700 energy, and you get to 100 or below before she decides to do her next rainbow, then she does not lock you to the ground. The health windows had some oversights to it, so this actually allows you to just stand up during this phase, and once the baby detaches, or once she, I think, stops being prey, is the first time that you can damage her, but you can actually damage her during this cutscene. So that cuts off like about 15 seconds off of the third phase here. Also, you can get a short charge in this room if you're an insane person. It is possible.
AKA Cordy.
Yeah, so time is coming up when he enters the ship.
So save or kill?
That's a good question. I think you should kill him. That's my opinion.
Time. 30 seconds off my PB. Well, 32 seconds off my PB.
Yeah, that's really good for a marathon, like
Yeah.
a one shot.
Yeah.
Any final words before we go to the next game?
Shout outs to the Gamacron crew and to Weiser.